was so good.
All right.
We're back. Are we on?
I think we're on. I think we're on now.
Oh man, you guys missed it.
Oh, you missed it.
We were
missed
singing
so
our
much.
hearts out. That's just for us now.
That's just for us.
Yeah.
Just for us.
Oh man. Well, hello.
Here's that. I'm gonna see if hopefully that changed the right thing too. That didn't mess up everything. Yeah, we're on now.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
We're
just gonna start all over again. How about that?
Okay.
We got more viewers than we ever had right now. And we're gonna start over just for you.
Yeah.
Let's go. Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to TLDR FC. I'm Danny.
I'm Casillas. We're so excited.
We're so excited. We're so excited to talk about soccer with you, especially for those that are curious about soccer.
Soccer curious?
Yeah, sock curious, if you will.
There
so
you go.
let's be real. That was the worst intro that we've ever
No,
had.
I think it was our best.
It was the best?
I think we come with better energy when things are a little off.
Yeah, well,
And
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, based on the games that we had this past week, I feel like that almost sums up the weird energy that was going on throughout the entire. I mean, obviously the World Cup, obviously the MLS coming back, like in the midst of things and going, "Hey, I'm here as well," and like. Just it was crazy. Bonkers.
We're in a
bananas.
transitional period.
We sure are.
In all of soccer, I think.
That's right. Well, let's get started.
Yeah, let's get into it. There's so much to talk about. So should we? Well, I mean, more than anything, congrats on a World Cup.
Congrats on World Cup.
We did it.
We did it.
Oh,
we made it through.
That was so much fun.
104 games that we were trying to cover and take part of, and we only have 4 more to talk about.
That's crazy. Yeah, I can't even process. Like, it just feels so long ago, but also I know it wasn't that long ago when it started, when it was Mexico versus South Africa.
It's pretty unbelievable.
And all the excitement. And then we had, 4 games a day.
6 games a day at one point.
Yeah. Oh, it was so much fun. It was a whirlwind. We obviously couldn't watch every game, but we watched as much as we could because we wanted to talk about it with you guys. And, now we've reached the end and it's almost cathartic a little.
It is. I know that last week you were talking about how it was going to be somewhat of a weight off of our shoulders from getting, more sleep and more, time where we're not just taking in the most random matchups ever, But I am going to miss this time a lot. I feel like it was so defining. You and I are movie lovers, and we obviously there's a lot of great stuff out in theaters, and I looked back on my letterbox, and the past 2 months I have watched in total 5 movies, and that is nowhere near what I usually do.
Right? No, there's no. If I have watched a movie, it's something I've already seen 10 times just to throw on in the background to turn my brain off.
Yeah,
I don't think I watched anything new the entire time. Well, this past week, yes, but it just. But of that too, I was thinking about this. I'm like, this is probably one of the best summers I've ever had.
I think so too.
Just in terms of enjoyment, things going on. Sometimes, usually every summer, there's kind of a lull in sports just because, baseball is fun, but that's really the only thing going on.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's definitely fun, but it's not like you can get super involved in what the playoffs are going to hold and all the stats. And it really is, it really gets started in September.
Exactly. But this to have something that was dominating the culture, dominating the sports world, and then you still had speaking of movies, The Odyssey just came out and things like that it's just there's been just stuff going on that it's just felt fun. Yeah. And it just felt like a really fun summer that I know I'm going to look back on this the same that I feel like I look back on past World Cups too, where I remember. It's been funny to think about too. We're going to get to it, but the last time Spain won was 2010, which was 16 years ago, basically half my age because I'm about to be 30. So I was 16, 17 at the time. Yeah. That I'm I was a completely different person. I just graduated high school, but I remember it so vividly. That was such a cool thing that was happening. I'm Summer World Cup. And I feel the same way in 16 years from now and be like, oh, that 2026 World Cup was something special.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think that there are so many aspects to the limited nature of it all. Like I've said throughout this entire thing that I wish that it could just go on forever.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's just been so much fun to see the different communities come together, all the fans interacting with one another, and all the memes and all the just fun storylines that come through. But I think that in its scarcity is where its uniqueness and magic comes from.
It's,
you know,
that would. I mean, so many things make it special, but that's one of the things where it's like even different than the Olympics. And even the Olympics, it has almost every 2-year thing because there's the Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics.
Sure.
So we don't necessarily have to wait as long. And it is obviously always fun when the Olympics come around. But this just feels different. This just I think, especially with soccer being such a global sport and how passionately
it's global, and it's so team based too.
Yeah.
It's not, and you know, obviously superstars play within the team, but there is something about, you know, representing your country with a group of people versus like, you know, one fantastic athlete that's representing their country, but ultimately can more so represent themselves.
Right.
You know,
right.
There's something to be said about that unity aspect of it all,
you can feel these countries kind of like being behind this team of players. And that's just a cool feeling, cool all around. It was just so much fun to be a part of this whole thing. It's been cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's go to the final 4 games that we had. So going into the week, we obviously, it felt kind of anticlimactic because we ended our episode last week, you know, talking about the final 4 with England, Argentina, Spain, and France, and those matchups. And obviously we had predictions about the games and about how things went through. I don't think that either of us could have really predicted how these things would have happened.
Yeah, I remember that we had made our predictions and we had kind of like an idea of what it might be.
Yeah.
And I don't even think we were necessarily all the way wrong.
Sure.
But we definitely weren't all the way right either. You know, it was kind of like a weird mesh of like, okay, this is kind of what we thought, but also not what we thought at all.
It's funny to look back in retrospect because there's certain things that we said about teams that would have sounded really dumb in their semifinal game, but then whether it be in the 3rd place game or in the final, actually sounds right. So we predicted that Argentina, if they won against England, they would just be scraping by. Right. And in a certain way they did, but it was a pretty... England parked the bus at the very end of the game, and they went in with a lot of momentum. And so I think that it would be stupid to say that Argentina looked not like the better team.
Right.
England may have been on paper, but like in the game, they seemed like it.
And I mean that. So I guess like we get into England Argentina first.
Sure.
So it was 2-1, right?
2-1 final score.
Argentina 2, England 1, and the way it happened was that England scored their goal first. And I forget, it was the first half or the second half?
It was in the early second half, around the 55th minute.
Early in the second half. And they, like you said, they just decided to park the bus. They're like, okay, we have the lead. Let's just hold on to it and like get by here because now like we're good, right?
Right.
And I think that was the flaw, you know, where and I've seen, obviously there's been so much discourse after the game and people were comparing it to the Mexico game where they take the lead and then they park the bus. But if you remember in that Mexico game, they lost a player to a red card. So they were down a man. And, you know, respectfully, I love Mexico. I've got the Mexico shirt. Of course. I just realized we got a whole Mexico USA.
Yeah, that's how we got to do things.
We didn't coordinate this at all. We were just locked in. I love that. And but yeah, so like they're going against Mexico down a man, up a goal. It kind of, and there was like less time. I think there was only like 30 minutes left.
That's right.
This one, there's almost 40 minutes with extra time left. But it's just different. You got Argentina where you're going against Leo Messi, the best player. And if you look at what Argentina has done in this World Cup specifically, I forget how many, but they had so many goals at the 112th minute, goals at the 95th minute.
Right.
Like, they kept doing this where you thought like it's over. We even talked about it. I think every week we talked about like what's going on with Argentina.
Well, I mean, even just their game against Egypt, like they were kind of they didn't have any tactics. They just had like the power of friendship on their side. And so it really wasn't a science. You couldn't predict what was going to happen. And so if you give them space, anything could have happened. And ultimately anything did happen.
Exactly.
So England's tactics were really baffling to me. I mean, I can understand the need to defend a lead, but when you only have a 1-score lead with almost, not including stoppage time, like almost half of the game left, that seems just incredibly foolish. Like, not to at least press a little bit harder, to try to.
And I think it also just shows that like you might be a little scared, that you're like, oh, we have the lead now. Let's just. And I've been hearing this. I obviously don't know a lot about the English national team and the kind of machinations in terms of like the management and even how they pick the players and stuff like that.
And I think it's important for us to acknowledge, and I feel like we do an okay enough job to but just in case you are listening for the first time, we are not coming from a perspective of, any of the authority that these managers have. Their tactics, though, on paper or in retrospect seem kind of silly or stupid or naive or whatever. But all of these guys will have forgotten about more soccer than we will ever 100%. Remember or learn. So I just need to put that out there in our questioning.
We're not necessarily ball knowers, we're ball learners. I think that's what we're at.
And that's where, with it being like if it's a philosophy class, I've got questions around the philosophy.
Oh, we have so
behind
many
that.
questions.
Yeah, exactly. So
so that's the thing. I think from what I've been learning or hearing is that this manager for England,
Thomas Tuchel.
Yes. He was brought in to be kind of this new voice in terms of we're not just essentially doing what they did in this semifinal. Like we're going to be brave. We're going to push. We have the players. We have Kane. We have Jude. We have Saka. We have these guys that can attack. I heard that they even had guys that they even come to the World Cup that could have been brought. That could have been
Cole Palmer.
Exactly. Yeah. Guys that could put the ball in the net. And they decided not to. And they made it to the semifinal, so they still had. And they won the third place game. We'll get to that. But in this game, with all of that, they still decided to do that kind of, we're just going to defend the lead thing rather than be brave. And I think a lot of English fans are upset about that because they thought this manager would be someone that, okay. And like you said, I think it makes sense if you have a 2-goal lead because now that seems a little harder to manage. And then, so they get their goal in the like 55th minute or whatnot, and they have it for a good while. And then in stoppage time, Argentina does what they do. They score a goal that becomes demoralizing, and then they're able to score another goal. And I think England's kind of defense was like Messi. Let's just be on him. And he being the soccer genius that he is, realized, okay, I can't score. They're on me, but they're leaving guys open, being on me. And he got to get the 2 assists to win them the goal.
Exactly.
Or get the game.
Right. Yeah. So Messi isn't able to go into the box, and obviously their defense in front of the goal is just like ironclad. They're gonna get something, and that's to Mexico's credit. They saw the holes and the opportunity to kind of exploit some of the weaknesses that England had, the very few weaknesses that they had defensively, which would be based on the somewhat unpredictability, the lucky bounce that a set piece could have, a cross going into the box, heading it in. Obviously, Raul Jimenez like coming in and just having like so many chances. And like to their credit, they were able to stop it. But it did seem like that was really the only way to bank on like this sense of unpredictability.
Yeah.
Because Messi, as great as he is, if you put 3 guys against him, he's only one man.
Right. Yeah.
There's only so much that he can do. So him making those passes, obviously making the game-winning assist with was it Enzo Fernandez, I believe?
Yes.
We'll get into that, but he it's all the way outside on the right side of the pitch, So it's not like they had his number, but he was still able to like get around it. You
Exactly.
know?
He knew what they were doing and what he had to do to attack that.
But they had so many other chances. I'm honestly surprised that they only won by one, because by the time that they had been pressing and wearing down this England defense, it just seemed like inevitable. You know, you even texted me at one point that Messi is inevitable. Like it is all inevitable, you know? So I think England has the right to be really disappointed in how things ended, but ultimately I think that their team has a lot, like they're going to be, if they can keep this core group together, obviously there's going to be some players aging out and may not be playing the same roles that they did, but they have a lot of positives to look at for sure. But I am unfortunately, you know, I feel like a lot of times when you find these late in the tournament games, it's really like who makes the fewer mistakes. It's never about like a team outplaying another team. It's like who slips up, because they're so calculated.
Play like
Absolutely. Yeah. They're so calculated. It's going to really be, you know, just exploiting their, you know, their weaknesses. And it really seems like this was an example of like shooting yourself in the foot. It was an unfortunate, like Argentina winning was like, you know, they did win it. They won it outright. Yeah. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, but it kind of feels like, oh, well, you know, what could have happened if England had pressed for another 20 minutes?
Right. I think essentially they were kind of conceding that they didn't feel that they could stand up with Argentina's attack, which is just based on the talent they have, I think is blatantly not true.
Right.
Because they obviously Argentina has some goal scorers, but you know what the team is built around. It's Messi. It's like, let's get it to Messi. Messi's going to make the magic.
And to their credit, it does make sense. Like Argentina is known for making those like, you know, like we cut off the ball and then we're going to march down the field and we're going to score within like 10 seconds.
Exactly.
So I understand the danger of like giving them too much space and
like
risking
the opportunity.
It. Absolutely. But as you were saying, it's like, you have a good team as well.
Yeah, because I try to get into the mindset of like I imagine the Argentinian players are like, oh, they're not attacking, they're just defending. They're scared. Yeah. If we attack, we could find a hole. Especially Messi. I'm sure Messi was telling these guys like they're not attacking. Yeah. They don't think that they can. They think that one goal is enough. And you know, I could also just be validating my feelings for Mexico, but it kind of made me think that they felt like Mexico was their hardest game. Yeah. And how they won that game, they took to this game. Yeah. When it was completely different. They should have had a different mindset. And I think that is kind of why people are frustrated with the coach as well, because it seems like he was sticking to a game plan rather than being willing to shift that. Yeah. You know, like, oh, well, hey, we're up. Let's get another goal. Let's be safe here, rather than let's just wait. Let's just hope we can get to the end.
Right.
Of this.
Yeah. Exactly. And well, if I remember correctly, I believe that he almost immediately after they scored their goal, he subbed out 3 guys for more defenders. Yeah. And so that if that doesn't broadcast, you know, where the game plan is going, it kind of gives them a perfect sightline of what they could potentially exploit.
Right, because even at that point, okay, cool. If they didn't get, which they did, honestly, probably for the best that it didn't go longer the game. Yeah, you know, because they took out to put more defenders in, and you still lost that goal lead. But even if it hadn't, it would just gone to, you know, extra time, penalties. You don't know what's going to happen and stuff that you're just conceding like, oh, we're scared of this Argentina team. And they tied us. Now what are you gonna do if it's extra time and they're still attacking? You still have to defend. Yeah. I wasn't happy with. I mean, I root for Messi, so I was happy for him. Yeah. But I just think that England could have played a much better game than they played.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely agreed. Let's jump back to the other semifinal game, Spain versus France. Wow. I went into this game obviously very high on France. Yeah. I had thought that they had the makings of being the team this year. Their ability to work with each other was really nice to see, especially offensively. I feel like they had the most cohesive playing style compared to so many of the other teams. And as much as I'm disappointed in the outcome of the game, and somewhat surprised in how Spain won so decisively,
Yeah.
I'm more so baffled as to what happened with France, and especially watching back some of the highlights, because Spain won this incredibly decisively,
Yeah.
2-0.
Yeah.
France didn't have a shot on goal, I think, in the first half at all.
Yeah.
And their ratings, I mean, looking at FOTMob and their ratings, like, I don't think there was a player other than Elise who had a rating like above 6, which is, for from my understandings, awful compared to so many other teams, and Spain themselves having just like a really remarkable lead, or lead in, just at least in their stats and their domination of the ball. It was really, really confusing. I was like, what happened to this team?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I think I was actually on the opposite side though, where it was a little more enlightening for me with the Spanish team.
Okay.
Because I think we had been talking about, like, it was almost the same thing with the Argentina stuff of like, it just seems like they're kind of barely getting by these wins. But now I kind of look back on it, and I think especially with that France game, I just feel like it was the game plan all along.
Sure.
Like, it's kind of the inverse of the England thing, where I think they were just more confident to do those things of like still attack. But I had heard, I forget who had said it. It was another soccer pundit talking about it, and that they're a team that doesn't necessarily have these like superstar goal scorers, but they have essentially everyone on their team can pass. Is like the best at passing. Yeah. Even the center backs or defenders, they all can pass at a level that is just different.
Sure.
And they have, I believe, 5 players that all are on Barcelona.
That is something, that I didn't even consider.
So
That's
they have
really
all this like
point.
complete team thing going on where they know how to pass to each other. They know what I feel like seeing that game, they felt the most cohesive.
Yeah.
And I think your point is completely valid, because prior to that, I thought France was the most cohesive team. But I think they just hadn't really faced a team that was just a little more cohesive than they were.
Sure.
And I think it was more like, Spain has just been doing. I don't think Spain ever wanted to run up any like 6-0 game or 4-0 game. I feel like they were always like, let's win by 2 and get the win.
Let's control the game.
Yeah, especially with like Yamal, I don't think being 100%. He had hamstring injuries going in. I think he missed the first 1 or 2 games, if I remember, of like group play. And he's just been, thugging it out since then. But, he looked fine, but it's not you go into it, you're hearing about like, Haaland's amazing, Mbappe's amazing, all these guys, Messi's amazing. And they're kind of living up to it.
Yeah.
And not to say Yamal didn't live up, but he was also in those sentences of like, and if you compare it, he only had 1 goal. He didn't have anything that was like show stopping of like, or like if we say like, do you remember the Yamal game? We're not gonna remember, but it's like, do you remember the Messi hat trick? You're like, the first game, things like that. So I think they just had a plan from even probably before the World Cup started of like, we are a team, we are just gonna pass it to each other. Like you said earlier, the whole which team is going to make more mistakes. I think they were dead set on just never making a mistake. Yeah. And just playing the game and hoping that France would, and it worked out. So this game, they won 2-0, right?
Yes.
Spain 2, France 0. And I just think it enlightened me of like, they're together in a way that I don't think any other team in this cup is together.
Yeah, I completely agree right there. I mean, even down to the first goal that they had, which was a penalty from that was caused by one of the French players on Lamine Yamal.
Right.
And that was it was honestly a really funny moment, because the reaction from Mbappe, to Lamine Yamal was really funny because of how much he knew exactly what he was doing, and how Lamine Yamal was like, I'm going to put myself into this circumstance. I'm going to cause a penalty that is called for us. And it was a very smart fast, again, exploited
Yeah.
and caused France to make a mistake within, I think, the first 25 minutes.
Right. And it's like Mbappe is like, that's what I would have done.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It was like kind of recognized game. So it was a moment where after that happened, I was like, okay, actually, because up until then, like obviously France was not playing up to spec, but also I think that they are one of those teams that is, they sometimes need a little bit of room to breathe, and then they get dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking like, oh, there's no way that they're not going to turn on the gas at some point, But then once they went up 1-0, I was like, okay, that was not on my bingo card. Like I was not expecting that. And
I will say too, even once they went up 1-0, because I think last week in our predictions, you predicted France and I predicted Spain.
That's right.
But it wasn't a confident prediction from me. It was just kind of like, oh, I hope it happens.
Yeah.
Just to see. Because I also think France was the like quote unquote favorite. I mean, it's the World Cup. Anything can happen.
Right.
But I think they were looked at as like in terms of talent, I do think they had the most top to bottom talent. And not to say Spain isn't filled with talent. They are absolutely filled with talent. But I think just like if you went on like a head-to-head thing, it would edge France's way.
Sure.
But I think Spain just had that kind of like, oh, we're together, we know how to play together thing. But even when they went up 1-0, I wasn't confident. I was like, okay, now this seems like when France will turn it on. And it wasn't until the second goal that I was like, oh no, I think Spain has figured something out. I think they kind of understand like, oh no, we had our game plan and it's working. Yeah. And we're good now. And I just think you can't, more than anything, I think you can't say enough about their defense.
Yes.
Like we're going to, this is jumping ahead, but after the World Cup, I think they ended with like, I forget the number of clean sheets, but they had
1 goal.
Belgium, right?
Yeah.
Well, Belgium is the only in outside of group play in terms of knockouts. I forget if anyone.
I think in group play too.
In group play too. So I think their defense was just. It's so funny because I think the Spanish goalie won the Golden Glove.
Yeah.
But I think he should give that to his defenders.
I know,
because
honestly.
it was no one could get a shot on goal in any of these games, or if they did, it was a miracle because the defense was just so insanely good. And then the passing in the back was so good. And it was just kind of like, you can't score on us. And if we get 2 goals, just consider the game over. I think that was their entire game plan because they knew it's so hard to score on us.
Definitely. Absolutely. And just to fact check it, the only goal was against Belgium, which
Insane.
Really seemed kind of like a lucky break too. It was not a very, like I didn't think that Belgium looked awful by any means, but that game that they had against them was,
I think it was like a header too, if I remember.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick turnaround from Spain had previously just scored too.
Right.
And so it was a tone shift for sure. But it was not.
You're going to like this. How I flipped it on like this was a good thing for Mexico. This is a good thing for USA.
That's right.
Because Belgium is the only team that scored on Spain.
Yeah.
And they scored 4 goals on us. Belgium was just too good. Belgium's offense was just too good.
Belgium, who would have thought? Like Belgium was one of the best teams this entire time.
We were trying to say it this entire time. Once they beat USA, they were like, Belgium might win it all.
Belgium might win it all, yeah. Dude, the U.S. sucks so bad.
Don't. It's all right. It's in the past.
Yeah, it's in the past. We'll
the MLS is in the U.S.
We'll move on. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Should we go?
Yeah, let's go to the third place game, right?
So the losers of these 2 games had to face each other.
So going into this game, it was pretty evident that the vibes were low.
Yeah, I mean, even like I feel like all the discussion before from the coaches, the players, was just like, we don't want to play this.
Right. Yeah. Thomas Tuchel, the French coach, who I am afraid to pronounce his name, and I think it's Deschamps. Deschamps, right. But it's like Deschamps, but Deschamps. I don't know. I'll have Ashton fact check me later. She's the fluent French speaker.
Oh, I did not know that.
She's not fluent, but she is to me, and she is to everybody.
To me too,
except for French people or people who can speak French.
They didn't even. They landed 4th, so who cares?
That's true. That's true. Spoiler alert. So I think we had, in my opinion, going in, vibes were low. this was one of the stupidest and craziest games I've ever seen. And
tell them the score.
Okay, so the final score to this game was 6-4. England winning the game 6-4.
6 goals.
6 goals
to 4 goals.
To 4 goals.
10 goals total.
The only game higher, as far as I know, they were saying this during the broadcast. The record is a game in the World Cup. Is a game that was won 8-3. So that is 1 goal away from being the record or tying it with the record.
They were just having fun out there.
They were just having.
They were playing
fun is a word for it. So full disclosure, I was unable to watch this game, but I listened to it.
Oh, nice.
And that was almost funnier. It felt like a radio play or like, watching a silent movie where there's like something that's emphasized in its like lack of understanding of what's going on. And especially the commentators who were just completely guffawed and baffled by like what was going on the pitch. So for starters, England scores within the first 2 minutes, right? 3 minutes actually. I think like the right away. And then they just continued to score. And then finally it gets to the half and it's 4-0.
They scored 4 in one half.
Yeah, France looked completely dejected, completely pulled out of it. And this was not for lack of like people on the pitch. Like England wasn't even starting Jude Bellingham or Harry Kane. All these goals came from players that had not previously been like the stars of the team. And France had, they didn't start Dembele from what I remember, but they had Mbappe out there. They had like a lot of the usual subjects, and so suspects, and it was
You're like a king.
Really
my subjects.
Yeah. I am.
You are. You're my king.
You're my king. Anyway, so it was kind of baffling. I know that a lot of people were gonna, I saw a lot of people complaining about it online too, that like just that the third place game is unnecessary and that it's just like a participation award and there's like a lot of feelings about it. But I was surprised to see a team, both managers had projected out there that this was unnecessary and that they didn't want to be playing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then it was really funny to see how France was like, wait, I thought we weren't playing this.
Like, you guys are taking this serious?
Exactly. That was kind of the vibe. And then the second half starts and almost immediately France just turns on the gas. And it ends up being, 4-1. 4-2, 4-3. Mbappe ends up scoring 2 goals, becoming the leader of
gets the golden boot
of this World Cup and also of World Cup goals in general, which is unbelievable. He has played 22 games in the World Cup and he has scored 22 times.
It's insane.
So he's averaging a goal a game. Unbelievable.
No player has scored more goals in the World Cup than Kylian Mbappe. That's
crazy. And he's played half of the World Cups that Messi has, who is the second behind him. Crazy. So it's suddenly 4-3. And I'm listening to this. We're like running errands and stuff like that. And I just have my phone up to my ear wherever we're walking around Ashton shopping. And I'm basically doing like telephone with her. I'm like, it's 4-3 now. Oh my God. She's like, can they come back? So, and where it is just such a funny atmosphere. Then suddenly there's a penalty against, France for England. And England then makes it 5-3. And it seems like, they're gonna put it away this like at the 85th minute or something. There's like no time at all. And then suddenly there's a goal from France to make it 5-4, right going into stoppage time. And you're like, there's no way. There's no way. Could it be happening? And you're listening, and then who else but Jude Bellingham puts it away, scores 6-4 to end the game, to really stomp out any chance of a France comeback. And we have, at the end of the day, one of the craziest third place games and one of the craziest games in general.
It sounds like you had fun with it.
Honestly. So we, if he's listening to this, we have a friend who was at the game. Dennis,
no way. Oh, yeah.
Was at the game.
What? That's awesome.
And I cannot wait to get his perspective on these things, because I just cannot imagine. I mean, when England started going up, I was thinking, this second half is going to be boring because it's like 4-0, game's over, whatever. And then the idea that you get an even better show at the very end, the atmosphere must have been unbelievable. So I had a lot of fun.
It's so interesting because I wonder also like what FIFA thinks of like, did they like, was FIFA maybe upset that like they made a mockery of this, or it was like, oh, like, it was kind of fun. People might be like,
I don't know.
That was cool.
There's two ways to think of it. I guess that like one could be like, yeah, they're just playing like Bush League, their Sunday League out there, you know, who cares? But also I think that there's something about, and it's similar to the NFL where you're at like the end of the season, you've guaranteed a playoff berth or something like that, or you have something forecasted ahead of you. You know, obviously the club season is going to start within the next few weeks. You've got guys that are going back to their teams that are supposed to be like, you know, they have really high expectations. They're going home without any hardware. There's not much to play for except for bragging rights. And I know that a lot of people have negative opinions about the third place game and that it shouldn't even exist and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's, with that, a need to be safe. Can you imagine if Mbappe tears his ACL, in the third place game?
That's a fantastic point.
So the defense, you know, obviously he's not particularly a defensive player, but like you're not going to be playing nearly as rough because the stakes couldn't be
almost like an all-star game.
Yeah, it's like an all-star game. Exactly. That's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah.
And I can understand, you know, people's irritation. You know, they were talking about that on the broadcast, talking about like how France players have come all this way, they paid all this money, insane amount of money to watch them play, and they're just giving nothing in the first half.
Right.
And obviously things ended up being a lot better in the second half, a lot more interesting, but there is a level of like, you know, who are you playing for? Is it playing for respect? Is it playing for whatever? I don't know. I can understand the players' feelings about like, you know, wanting to be safe, not really giving two cares about it, you know, like, because it's you're not winning the whole thing, so why play? But I can also understand just like it was in the contract. Like it's like it's broadcast. It's not like a surprise. I thought that this was a new thing. Like, because I'd never think about the third place thing. Right. But then once you started doing the history of the third place game, I was like, okay, let's stop acting like this is
like
not
just like
thing.
we're just forcing you this time to do it.
Exactly.
I think so. I have I think two takes on this. One, Kylian Mbappe, he gets the 2 goals. I think he probably in his mind was specifically like, I need to get these 2 goals. One, to get some space behind in front of Messi, because Messi had the championship game the next day. So he's like, okay, I mean, Messi's more than capable of scoring 2 goals, but that'll be a little bit harder. If I score no goals, he just needs 1, and now he takes the lead. Obviously, Mbappe can get it back the next World Cup, but I think he also probably wanted that golden boot in general for this. So he, with those 2 goals, he takes the golden boot with, I believe that ended him with 10 goals for this World Cup.
Jeez, 10 goals?
Yeah,
oh my
10.
Goodness.
And Messi ended up with 8, and he gets the 22 goals for the all-time lead. Messi more than likely will never play a World Cup game again. So now and Mbappe will, so he can like keep running that up. But now goals, he doesn't have to hear it for 4 years of like, you're not the all-time. Sure. Like, so I think both those things, I don't know Mbappe, I don't know his feelings, but there had to be somewhat in the back of his mind of like, well, it's still part of the tournament, so I still can add to my total here. And he was able to do it. He got the 2 goals that he wanted. My other thing is that, you know, I think I'm a guy that likes the history of the sport, of the tournament, of the sport in general. And I think it is an important thing just historically of like, okay, you have the winner, obviously the person that lost is second place. And, you know, like I think my take on it is it's still an accomplishment.
Sure.
You still are one of the last 4 teams. Wouldn't you like to say, oh, well, our team was also the 3rd best?
Right.
You know, like I think there's still some pride in that. You know, I think sometimes, I think because it's done in the Olympics, it makes more sense because there's like the gold, silver, bronze and stuff. And that's not necessarily a thing here in the World Cup. There's no medals, but you did kind of win the bronze. And I think that's like, rather than being like, this is dumb, we shouldn't be playing this. I understand the injury thing completely. And I am also fine with it being essentially in a kind of a souped up all-star game. Like, I don't mind that because it's fun, but then you still get that pride of like, not only was I part of the last 4 teams, I was the 3rd place team. Yes, you want to win it all, but like there's history here that you know who won third place for the last 30 years of the World Cup.
Sure.
That it's still an important thing that you could still have pride for your country. And when I was doing, there was so much other history. I kind of got the like biggest things, but some countries, the furthest they've ever gone is third place. And that's so much pride to them. I think what the problem was that it was France, England, which I think everyone thought could have been the final, or was the final that people were hoping for.
I totally agree.
And now that it being the third place game, you're like, oh, it's dumb. But let's say it was Cape Verde in the third place game. That
people would be going bananas,
and they would be. This is amazing, even though it's not the final. And even if they didn't win, or if they did win, they would be going crazy because that is the furthest they've ever gone. And there's so many countries that have only gone. England has never won a third place game. They've won a cup, but they've never won a third place game. So it's still something to have pride for.
It's the furthest that they've been since they won the World Cup in 1966.
Exactly.
So you aren't going home empty-handed in a certain way. You're going home empty-handed from a World Cup trophy.
Right.
And I understand a lot of people's opinions for that. And that's maybe the problem, is that you know these big four, these four teams have all won a World Cup, some several times. Yeah. You're going to wind up with bigger expectations, and this will feel smaller than it is.
Right.
But it's still history. You're still a part of it.
It still matters. Yeah. Even the participation thing that people were saying, I didn't really vibe with, because I'm like, no, a participation thing is if you were in the group stage and scored no goals.
Right.
And lost every game, but you were there. You could be like, we made it to the World Cup. That's a participation trophy. It's still impressive that you've made it to World Cup, but I think too often we kind of just put down things that are worthy, you know, and
objectively fun things.
Yeah,
I would rather have a great another World Cup game that I get to watch.
With two great teams,
exactly.
And I also think it's hilarious because it was an opportunity to just further crap on the England coach. Because then you have Saka score a hat trick when he didn't score any, or he didn't play. He didn't play at all in the game against Argentina. And so many English fans were like, where was Saka? Maybe he could have scored a goal. And then you see the next game against France granted, France probably wasn't putting their absolute best effort,
right?
But he scores 3 goals. And it's just kind of hilarious that and I think that could have also attributed to the frustration, especially with English fans that can't be happy that they got third place, because now they know, if we had brought this kind of energy, obviously it wouldn't have been the same because of the stakes, but somewhat of this energy, at least an attack energy, maybe things would have been different. So I don't mind the third place game, and I'm like just happy it happened.
Yeah, I feel that, and I completely agree. And I kind of wish that they could have taken at least some of the sauce from this game and put it in the final.
Yeah, with great transition.
Thank you. But truly, I think that the final, I mean, I don't have much to go off of with this.
Sure.
Because this is the first time that I've really followed nearly as closely than previous years, and I don't hate it nearly as much as it seems like most people. I feel like I had a fun time watching the game, as bland as it could have ended up, being in most people's eyes. It did lack somewhat of a spark and some of the magic that comes from some of these games, with obviously a lot of offensive intensity.
Right.
But I do think ultimately it was a different kind of game. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think, there's a lot of narratives that are going to come out of this, and that we can talk about some of them.
Sure.
But ultimately, I'm happy to say that Spain are World Cup champions.
I'm happy to say it too.
They won their game against Argentina, of course, 1-0, going into extra time. So it was not a close. It was not a blowout by any stretch, as much as the stats would say so. Mm-hmm. Argentina did not show up for the game, but they did show up in...
They showed up in a way.
They showed up in front of their goal that they were blocking from Spain.
Yeah.
So they did a similar thing to England, where essentially they knew that they were going to be outplayed.
Yeah.
And so they said let's play for penalties, and they basically decided to do that, it seemed, at the 10-minute mark, and than they almost did. They almost got away with it.
I couldn't believe how I thought they were. I was like in absolute shock and distress. So let me just say one thing. Because my little sister has been so mean to me. For the like,
where could this be going?
My little sister has been on the day of the final. She messages me and she's like, Argentina or Spain. I want to say this right now. I am not a fan of Argentina. I am a fan of Messi.
Sure.
I love Messi. That is my goal. He is so great, and he can just do no wrong in my eyes. I pray to him every night.
Clip it, chat. If you hear that, we're gonna use it. There's gonna be something, Messi's gonna say or do something incredibly heinous and awful, and
I'll still love him.
And that's Casillas.
And my little sister, she's 13 years old, could not believe that I was like Argentina, but just for Messi, and she was like, "You're disgusting." Like she just did. She was not a fan of who I was rooting for. And then after the game, she's like, "Sucks to suck. Where's your goal?" Blah, blah. And I'm like, "This is aggressive.
Right?
You've never acted like this."
Yeah.
I just want to say I was not rooting for Argentina, the team or the country, or anyone else. I was rooting for Messi.
I literally felt the same exact way. I was talking to Ashton beforehand, and I was saying like, perfect scenario: Spain wins 2-1. A goal from Lamine Yamal, and then the only goal from Argentina comes from Messi. Like that would have been like the perfect textbook, like perfect ending.
If Argentina lost but Messi scored, I would have been happy.
It would have been, and I think that a lot of people would have been happy. A lot of people are really upset because of Messi's a lack of scoring, but I think that ultimately he didn't have much to work with, so it's really not left up to him. Obviously, he's not blameless. Obviously, he's on the team that lost, and so I can understand how some people might have gripes about what he could have done and what didn't occur.
I think it goes to what we were saying earlier about Spain. I think they were still playing their game of like we're a better team than everyone else.
Yes,
we don't
absolutely.
We don't even necessarily know if we're better than other players. If we have anyone maybe Yamal could reach levels. We don't know. He's still so young, but we know that we don't have anyone as good as Messi. We just know that as a team, we're cohesive and no one can get past us. We are just so good. Argentina had one shot on goal the entire game.
And none in regulation time.
Yeah.
They needed that in extra time.
So they basically were just doing cardio out there the entire time. But that just goes to show how good Spain was at defense and how good they were at just keeping the ball with themselves, just passing it to each other. And it's like, Argentina, you're never... There was moments that Messi would touch it and they knew immediately, just foul him. Right. And that was fine. Like that, and you can't really fault them for that because it's a smart play. You're like, don't let him do any of the Messi magic. We'll let him get a free kick from essentially the half mark.
Right.
And where he's like, he can't shoot it from here. I mean, I don't know, maybe he could, but like that would be crazy.
But their midfield was on top of him.
Exactly. Yeah. So anytime he even touched it, they were like, foul, we'll get a free kick. We're going to get this ball back and we're going to keep it from them.
Right.
And they were just constantly doing that. And I think Argentina... This is probably one of the narratives you were talking about too, had just a mindset. And I think this is why people started to really, I think, despise them. There was so much negative.
I was a little, it felt a little forced, honestly, from a lot. Like, I get that there are some really, truly despicable people on the Argentina team and also in the Argentina country. Yeah. But as there is with Spain, it's like the way that people have propped up Spain as if it's like this wholesome place free of racism, as if like that, it's like it's both places have.
That's what I was telling my little
issues.
sister. I was like, Spain conquested us, right?
They literally are named the conquistadors.
But that's neither here nor there. Not about soccer. I don't, but I will say the way that they played, a part of me was like, it is so crazy. I kind of I don't want to say admire. I don't want to give any like positive connotation to it. It was just more like, so brazen, I think, that they were like, we're just gonna fight. We're gonna. I saw people say basically they were testing the refs. It's like how much are you gonna let us get away with before you call something, or like even if we get a yellow, it's cool. We'll next player, now you got to hit somebody. You get the yellow. We could all get yellows here. Let's just toe the line. And I think in this game, they were doing that. I think they knew they were outmatched with Spain.
Yeah.
So they were like, we are just going to make sure these guys feel us and hopefully we don't get called. And it eventually did bite them in the butt because one of their players got his second yellow, which turns into a red, and now he's out. So now when Spain was already dominating this game, you know, with, I think sometimes you see a soccer score at 0-0, you're like, oh, okay, it's pretty evenly matched. Spain was dominating that game from the first kick.
Yeah.
Even I feel like the first half, they were probably feeling it out a little bit more. And I think by the second half, they realized like, oh, these guys can't hang with us. They're just trying to rough us up. We're good. And I think Argentina also felt that. So we're like, we got to just keep roughing them up. And then they lose a guy. They're down a man. Now it's like, oh, it's just a matter of time. That's why I thought it was so impressive that they made it all the way to the second half of overtime, extra time, and still hadn't scored, but then immediately got the one goal to, because, you know, at penalties too, anything can happen. But I do think that was Argentina's, like, if we could just make it to penalties, now it's a coin flip. Like now skill is kind of out the window. It's up to our kicks and the goalie, and whatever happens, happens. Are we touched by destiny?
Right.
If we are, we're going to win this. And I think Spain also was like, we can't get it there. So it was just kind of this like push and pull thing. And I think Spain always knew that they were going to get to the point that they did get to, especially once Argentina lost a guy. And it was just the game they were playing of just being super physical to a point that like there was just some dirtiness going on that like you can't really like celebrate that. Like I'm not celebrating that. I don't like it, but I do think it's brazen. It's just kind of like when you know this is all you can do against a team that you're overmatched with, it's what else you're going to do, right?
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. It's very Icarus of them. They pushed the envelope too much and they got bit in the butt for it. And a lot of people are, you know, there's an overly simplistic view of how all these games work, you know, that's just sports. And that's honestly what's turned me off from sports conversations for so long about, you know, certain decisions that are made by whether it be players, the managers, the entire team organization. We'll get into, you know, MLS. Obviously we had something big happen with our own hometown MLS group. Today, club is to say, you know, not group, but
they're our group.
Yeah, there are group. That's right. Thank you. So there's a lot of like a lot. Like people make money and make a living off of doing the math of what's most likely to happen and the probability of all these different things. And like, what is the best tactic to do so? Yeah. And as much as people can claim that like Argentina looked like garbage out there and that they just like parked the bus and like, you know, whatever, they knew that they weren't going to win, they didn't play with any integrity and blah blah blah, and it's like that can be true, right? But also if they were to win it, people would claim that they're frauds or whatever, right? But they would have won the World Cup. So it is the nature of the game in many different ways that like you take advantage of what you were given with. And so I'm not defending Argentina's tactics and stuff. I just am not naive to the fact that like they see an opening, they see a hole. It's kind of like the probabilities and like what's the only way for us to win this? Yeah. We're not going to win this by outsmarting Spain's midfield. Yeah. We're not going to win this just putting the ball onto Messi's foot and hoping some magic occurs. We are going to win this by going to penalties. Right. And that seemed to be like the decision. If they couldn't get a goal in the first 10 minutes, like that was the decision. Yeah. That was the game plan. Yeah. And they executed it almost perfectly. It almost worked. It almost worked.
I really thought once it got to the second half of extra time, I was like, I think it's going to work.
Honestly, like, we were saying like, oh, people are going to riot if they win off of penalties, because again, all this hate and some of it justified, but it did seem very much like, oh, they're the new team that everybody hates, you know, or whatever, which makes sense. When you're at the top, of course you're gonna hope for a new team. Yeah. But it was funny, like just to see how quickly everyone was like, you know, and then of course they're never talking about Messi, they're talking about Argentina, you know, or whatever. But then again, some people did talk about Messi, and I'm like, but you were you were just at an Inter Miami game, you know? Like, there's no way that you're going for any. Oh, I just like the team. Like, no, you're going for Messi, man.
Yeah,
like,
when he scored a hat trick in the first game when the stakes were as low as possible. Yeah, there's all
exactly. Oh yeah, and if they had, you know, it's that kind of like we have said this entire time, you know, die a hero, live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Exactly.
And to your point, if Messi like it is suspected he would be 43 by the next World Cup.
Yeah.
I think there's a very non-zero chance.
Sure. Oh yeah,
that he is back, and mostly because they are hosting the opening.
That makes sense.
Games in Argentina. Can you imagine?
Yeah, because even if he's just like off the bench, like just basically what they had with Neymar this year.
Yes.
If he was what Neymar was this year to Brazil, to Argentina in 4 years, who's to say he can't do that? And especially if they're starting in Argentina, they're gonna want to show him out.
I think FIFA would kill him if he did it. You know, if he retired. You know, like they are. You know, obviously they've got plenty of star power to like back themselves up on. But the greatest of all time, you know, not starting and then also becoming, you know, because obviously Ronaldo has which. But now that I think about it, Ronaldo is definitely not retiring. You think that he's not going to play in Portugal when they're hosting too?
That's a good point.
So,
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
who knows anything? And we may not even be here in 4 years. But I would love to be here in 4 years, though.
Yeah. Oh, imagine what this pod can be in 4 years.
Imagine it's all up to you, listener. Just got to help us out. Get us like a Bitcoin sponsorship or something. I don't know.
I told
don't
Brenda
want that at all, by the way.
We're trying to get this pod big enough that someone sponsors us to be there in Portugal. That's the goal. 4 years, we're going to be there.
Yeah, we just need one very kind person, very kind patron that is like, you know what, I'm willing to throw as much money as it takes to put these two idiots.
Or as little money as it takes.
That's true.
You don't even have to throw a lot. Yeah, we'll stay in a hostel.
$10 and hey.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Airfare and a ticket to the game.
Should we start it right now? This is like our fund to get to the 2030. Our trip, it starts right now to the 2030 World Cup in some capacity.
I like it.
Because to be honest, like there's more countries not hosting it or that are hosting it than not.
Right.
So I mean, we can be in it in some capacity. If we can go down to like South America or something like that.
We can get to Argentina, no problem.
Easy.
Come on.
Pocket change, baby. Let's go.
Come on.
All right, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Mark our words.
But to end this World Cup.
That's right.
Congrats to Spain.
Congrats to Spain. You know, and I think what a beautiful thing that we've been talking about. Like, obviously, so much of the World Cup is based on these stars representing their teams and like putting them into different scenarios. It's so much fun to see. Obviously, like Mbappe and Jude Bellingham, and like Vinny Jr. all being teammates on, you know, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But then they are split up and then represent their own countries.
Yeah.
How cool to see those like in the different scenarios. Blah 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 blah. But how befitting that a team sport, the winner of the World Cup this year, has some great stars,
Sure.
Rodri, and like, you know, a lot of the players like, you know, Williams Jr., like people who are very good players.
Well, the other 19-year-old, Cobra.
Shoot,
you know who I'm talking about, though.
He won the young player of the
match.
Did
he? Oh, okay. He deserved it.
And obviously, of course, Lamine Yamal.
Yeah,
it is really, really cool that this team that we've been hailing as like a team, a cohesive unit, ends up winning. Yeah. It's not the superstar that just pulls them out. As much as I love Haaland, I think it would have felt, you know, a little bit dry because you would have assumed like, oh, it would have been him. Yeah. It
just shows how much of a team sport this sport really is.
It's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that also even down to their only goal, it was due to an assist. It was like, you know, a cross that was then headed in, that was then set up perfectly, you know, for the one and only goal. It was a great goal. It was a great goal.
Yeah.
And also before we move on, what's with all the hate for the halftime show?
Oh, I didn't see it. You didn't see it? No, I missed the halftime show.
It was bonkers. But I loved it. I know that I am coming from an American point of view. I'm sure that there are plenty of people who disagree.
Yeah.
I have not seen, other than like my mom, anyone who has enjoyed it online.
Really?
Like it seems like everyone hated it. Oh. That it was like a waste of time. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Obviously, like Madonna with like Ronaldo and Ronaldinho. Yeah.
Oh no! It was Ronaldo. Brazil.
I think it's both of them, right?
Oh, they were both. Ronaldo and Ronaldinho.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not Cristiano Ronaldo, but
I only saw Brazil Ronaldo. I didn't see Ronaldinho.
I could be wrong. I'm very new to this. But like that was bizarre. But then it goes to like, BTS and Justin Bieber and the Muppets come out.
I did see the Muppets.
And Coldplay and then Shakira and like all of this together. And then like, they have like the school choir from like New York that represents like all of these different cultures coming together.
Yeah.
I was just like, and they had an homage to the rowing. They had like all these different moments with like the fans and stuff. I was like, dude, this is what the World Cup is about. It's like bringing everybody together. It's gonna be a hodgepodge. It's gonna be a hot mess. It's gonna be weird. Obviously, like Justin Bieber performed, but they were like, why did he perform or whatever? It's like, one, I think it was really stupid the way that they did it on TV, because I think in the stadium it was actually really sweet. If you saw in the background, they were playing a highlight reel of all of these like beautiful fan interactions.
Oh, nice.
So like, like the Japanese fan being hoisted in the air from like Mexico fans or whatever, or like Netherlands and Morocco fans marching together to their matchup, and like certain moments like that where it's just like it's these unlikely duos and groups coming together, and he's obviously singing a very slow song. People were like, "Oh, it totally took the
it was like
air
acoustic,
out of it."
I saw
it was
that.
acoustic,
yeah.
But like if we saw that montage, I think it would have been beautiful, because it was not all about just like the full blown like spectacle celebration that like the majority of the performance was about. It was like seeing these like quieter moments or these fun like interactions that people have, these personal moments that were
more than
outside
soccer.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just like, I'm really confused why people are hating on it so much. They were like, oh, it was such a waste of time. I understand that the half was longer, but it's like, I don't know, like it just seems so silly to hate on something that's like all about just like positivity and finding, common ground with one another, especially in the United States, especially in a very, very divisive age. Like it just seems so stupid to be like, actually it sucked, like, okay, great that we,
I'm with you. I was working, so I was watching the game, but also while I was working, so the halftime I was like, okay, cool, let me get like some work actually done. So that's why I had to miss it. But from because I saw you and Ashton's story, I saw the Muppets thing. I'm like, that's awesome. I saw Justin Bieber. I like Justin Bieber. I'm a fan of Justin Bieber.
Sure.
So I thought that was cool. Brenda and her sister are huge BTS fans.
Yeah,
so
BTS was fantastic.
She had messaged me, BTS is there. So I feel like it was like for everybody. It was just trying to say like, this is the world's game. The world has come together. We have reached the end.
Right.
Let's show how much of the world was touched by this.
Yeah.
So I think, obviously I didn't see it. So I it'd be funny if like I watch it tonight and I text you, I'm like, hey dude, it actually did suck. but I don't think that'll happen. And I think everything you're saying and everything that I have seen of like the clips of it and stuff is cool. And I'm glad that they did that. Yeah.
It's like you can be there's a level of like, oh, I wish it was better. I wish they did it. I wish it was shorter. I wish that there were certain things like that. But like looking at it for what it is, I'm like, of all the organizations, also, let's be real. FIFA is a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
And the goal for FIFA is to grow the sport, to make it accessible to people throughout the world. They fail at doing that so much.
Sure.
But on its surface, it's about making it for everyone and making it accessible for everyone. Yeah. And so you have this show, and I'm not trying to think too deep into it. Obviously, it's a halftime show.
Yeah.
But it was a celebration of all these different cultures and all these different types of people coming together and playing the world's game.
Yeah.
I think that's so stupid to then be like, unnecessary.
Why?
It's like literally that's FIFA.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's about football, but
right.
it's also it's about connecting the world. You know, so like that's the very least that they can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I think exactly what you're saying is right, because obviously for us, and I think it's completely split, where it's either you were super tapped into the World Cup, watching every game, or you're just following what was happening, or you just knew that it was happening,
right? And
you would like pop in every now and again. Maybe you were with a friend, or you were at a bar, the World Cup was on. You knew that it was around, but it wasn't like dominating your life the way it was for us and just bigger sports fans in general, except when it's, and I feel this way, I think across the board with sports, once it's the final game, you're getting the most audience just because and I think especially with this, you even get the people that are just like, oh, I knew the World Cup was going on. It's ending. Like, let me watch the ending. Yeah. And, you get this game that at halftime is 0-0. You probably get these fans who are like, this is a lame kind of game, not knowing all the nuances that we have just like talked about. Right. And so now you're like, okay, well, we got Justin Bieber, BTS, the Muppets and stuff. And you're like, oh, I feel like to those people, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is nice.
That's random. It gives you something to talk about. Yeah. It's like, obviously Madonna is 64 years old and is like doing, the splits on stage. It's like, what is going on? Like, there's so many moments of course, that I think that we're just so familiar with Super Bowl halftime shows and just like moments where it's a little rough around the edges. It's almost like SNL where it's like, you're kind of rooting for it. Yeah. There's like this beauty in its like kind of quirkiness, and I thought that they nailed it. I thought they nailed the tone. They did it really seamlessly. There weren't major technical difficulties or like errors and stuff. And there was a lot to like really take into account, and to like to coordinate. And this is coming from someone who works in like live entertainment and theater and stuff, so maybe that's also just a really biased point of view, but it just seems so silly to like, of all the things to hate on, like, yeah, like I understand racism and absolutely you should hate on that. Yeah. Why are we hating on Miss Piggy and Kermit singing about football? Like that's objectively fantastic. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems so stupid.
No, I'm with you. Me. I'm with you. And I appreciate it. To wrap it up completely, you're talking about the beautifulness of it. Last week we were like, okay, there were so many moments of the World Cup. Do you want to get into maybe our just 3 of our favorite moments each?
Yeah, that sounds great.
You want to go back and forth one?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, I'll go first. I think the first thing that just got to me and I think got to the world was just the run of Cape Verde and what they were doing. I just feel like they were the world's team in a way, despite them being so small and despite it being their first World Cup and all these things and just the love that the goalkeeper got. And I also think with this final, it's funny that Cape Verde kind of gave both these final teams their hardest battle.
They didn't lose to them in regulation time, both teams.
And I think it shows that they were here for the moment and everyone was behind them. And I think I just love that. That was just really cool, that the shine that Cape Verde got. And that's the beauty that can happen at the World Cup.
Absolutely. I to kind of piggyback off of that, I really loved these moments of the underdogs. Obviously, there were certain upsets that happened throughout like the group stages. And there were certain teams that I feel like, unfortunately, were knocked out early, but it was a little bit more evenly matched and questionable and projected. So like Morocco versus Netherlands going into penalties, Netherlands not making it out of their round of 32, and that's surprising, but it's ultimately it's against Morocco. It's a really good team. Obviously Japan taking it really late to Brazil and being upset that Japan doesn't make it through, but it's like, oh, it's to Brazil. It's a dysfunctional Brazil, but it's ultimately like it's Brazil. Yeah. But one that really kind of blew me away, and unfortunately, a week later I really looked down on them. But the Germany Paraguay game, going to penalties and beating Germany, that was such a wonderful moment.
And we got to see it together.
Yeah, we got to see it together. I feel like we didn't get to watch a lot of the games together, and so that was a fun like little moment that we shared before our recording that day. And it was a special like tone setter for the first. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th game of the round of 32 and like all the knockouts and stuff and what was to come. I feel like that was when I was like, all right, this is going to be fun. Yeah. That was definitely a defining moment.
That's a great one. That was so much fun. For me, what I thought was really cool was everyone's newfound love of Erling Haaland. Yeah. Where like, if you even just were like, had some knowledge like us of soccer, you had heard the name, you knew he was good, but I hadn't watched a lot of Man City. I don't know if you had watched a lot of Man City prior, but you hear that this guy is good. I also think like I remember too, because Man City is one of those teams that people love to hate on too, like have had success and stuff like that. And then he also kind of, if you prior to this, I'm like, he kind of looks like an 80s movie villain. a little,
He
like the
does.
long blonde
Looks like
hair, just huge.
He looks like the guy from Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So you're like, okay, is this like a bad dude?
He's
like
like
what?
a vaguely European guy.
Yeah, like what's the vibe here? And then like he comes out, is absolutely awesome, dominant in the games, but even on top of that, he's hilarious. He's just so funny on Snapchat. Got the taxidermy raccoon. It's just doing fun stuff. Is like that picture of him high-fiving the little kid, and he's like,
so cute.
You know? All the stuff where it's just, I feel like very similar to Cape Verde, where the whole world started to love that team. I feel like the whole world started to love this guy for good reason. He just seems like a good dude, and is just the dominant football player that it's just kind of really cool to see that. And now I think he has made so many new fans that his star has just risen even higher, which is really cool.
Something so refreshing about him too, that there's a little bit of like, I'm sure that it's still calculated, but like there's a lack of like traditional PR,
right,
talking points. The way that he talks about like what they think is going to happen against France, and he's like, oh, they're probably going to beat us, or whatever. Just like being incredibly blunt about certain things, and having a little bit of fun with people and stuff. Like I feel like we live in such an age where everything is very manufactured, and you hang on to every single word, and so you got to be really careful about what you have to say. And so his kind of like his style and
I saw a thing that is like he's just super Gen X, which I think sums it up pretty well. And I think I love that about him.
That's funny. He's like kind of old school.
He's like, that's cool.
That's really funny. I gotta say for my next positive, and this might be again a hot take, and it's funny because people are already hating on the 2030 World Cup because of how there's going to be an even more expanded format, most likely. I really enjoyed all of the games within the group stages. I think that it's something that I'm going to look back on and be like, why on earth was I watching like Algeria versus Jordan at like 11 p.m. at night,
just on a
Wednesday. That's what I mean. Is like, it just feels like such a defining, like we dove into this thing head first. I don't know what, like obviously the scheduling worked out the way that it did. We were focused on like talking about the MLS, and then suddenly the World Cup comes up and we're like, oh, we may as well like watch that. We should like have some fun. This has completely swallowed me whole, and I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like those group stage games like gave me such an ability to just like inject it all into my veins and to like be a part of it in perpetuity, and not have to worry about like, missing a certain marquee matchup because there's going to be 4 more tomorrow, just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed just the amount to watch. More soccer is always good.
It was the best. I miss it. I'm going to miss it until the next group stages at the World Cup, but it was just so cool to be like, oh, what is my day? There's soccer throughout it. Like that. Right. I love that. It was so much fun. All right. And then the last favorite moment for me, it'll kind of go with guys naming dudes. This is my one dude that I want to shout out and I feel like I've shouted him out every week because I love him. Raul Jimenez for Mexico. He's just become my favorite player on Mexico, and one of my favorite players. I thought he just had so much pride playing for the country. He like that first goal that he scored was for his dad that just passed away. Everything he's been through with his head injury. And it was just really cool to see him. He had been in, I believe, 2 other World Cups and not really done anything. I think the first one he was only coming off the bench. The second one he was still dealing with stuff. And this one I feel like he really got to show that he is a really good player and really deserved to be there, and just seemed like a cool dude. And I don't know, I don't remember if we had talked about this, but he's been on vacation. He's back with Wolves. But prior, he went on a little vacation, and on his stops, he's been wearing the jerseys that he swapped with from the World Cup game. So he had a Harry Kane jersey, and it had the England Harry Kane jersey that said Mexico with the date, so it was his. And then he had a jersey from Korea, from the Korea game they played, because someone on Korea he played with, I think, on Fulham. And it was just super cool that he's like wearing the jersey, clearly swapped them. And it was just, I loved him. I thought I knew of him going in obviously learned more throughout the World Cup and just
Sure.
what he did there. And then just afterwards, like I'm probably going to watch Wolves games now for him. That it was just really cool to see. And he was one of my favorite moments.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, he had so many moments in my last thing that made me an instant fan. Not that I wasn't before, but just so many chances and so many more. Crazy. My moment of that I think I'm gonna remember so much of is the England-Mexico game. I was tempted to say the Cabo Verde game against Argentina.
Also a great one.
That's probably like
I would say those were the
consensus
two
pick.
best games.
Yeah, and those happened like back to back against each other. Crazy weekend, great weekend. But that Mexico England game played at Azteca, and just the coming from behind and trying to like fight back. Obviously there were we would have hoped for Mexico to come out with the win.
Yeah.
But I think that was just like such a defining moment for this World Cup. Two teams that have completely different setups, that are from completely different backgrounds. Hardly of any of them play in the same leagues with one another. So the familiarity was not there. Like, it was such a cool moment to see truly the world coming together, and the game itself was one of the most insane, intense.
At the Azteca.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just so much fun.
I remember that game.
Yeah. That was it was a blast.
That's a great one.
It was a great one. So that was, of course, there's so many moments.
So many moments.
As I mentioned before, like the different fan interactions, Norway fans, taking over and rowing everywhere, and Argentina fans stopping Times Square, and England fans just.
Who was our original episode that took over Kansas City? Was it Algeria?
Yeah. The Rock Chalk Algeria.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Lawrence, Kansas. So that was really, really special to see those interactions. And I think that there's something to be said too about like how there was a lot of fear and quite honestly, unfortunately, justified fear coming into the U.S. As immigrants, and there were plenty of moments that were it was ridiculous how many moments where players or fans or even officials weren't allowed in the country based on like visa issues, or obviously Iran, not being able to stay in the US even though they were playing in the US. It's just like so many things like that were very negative about it. And with all of our faults, it was pretty special to see all the people that did end up coming and having a really positive experience with players with people from the US and like welcoming people.
I think it just shows that community wins out. Over it all.
Beats governments.
Community and just human interaction is always going to be more powerful than anything. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's something, I don't know, we could take away from this World Cup.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome. We'll miss it.
I'm going to miss it so much.
It's going to be cool.
Honestly.
But before we move on, do you have any dudes you want to name before?
You know what, man? I don't know. There's so many. I was thinking about
first name comes in your
Enzo Fernandez.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? He's so, he was on free Enzo, man.
Oh, man.
No,
right. Let's end the pod.
I will say, I'll go back to my favorite play with Spain. Obviously, it was Torres who had the final goal. But I got to shout out Williams Jr. Because awesome. It was a defining moment of this, obviously he didn't have the best angle to head the ball in. Yeah. But to head it back and set up the final goal, I thought it was a pretty selfless moment. Yeah. And obviously going into the second half of extra time, there's not a lot of, you kind of want to take every shot you can get. And I don't think anyone would have blamed him for like trying to make something work and being the hero. Yeah. But I loved that was the culmination of the final goal. And obviously Torres gets all the credit for it because he did ultimately score it. But like, it wouldn't have been possible without him. And I should look back and see who set up the header for him in the first place. Sure. But it was just a beautiful moment where honestly, I was just like, I was just so excited that it wasn't off of a penalty. It wasn't off of like it just kind of like flubbed in and became an own goal or something like that. It was a cohesive moment of just like encapsulating what the Spain team seemed to be all about. Is
back
like
to the team thing.
Exactly. And so I think that was probably a defining moment, as much as it was a little unremarkable in certain ways, but I really enjoyed his performance in that game. Being a sub on too, I just thought that he deserved being my guys naming dudes dude of the week right there. So
that was awesome.
There we go.
And I guess with that, that is the World Cup.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been great.
So much fun.
We'll miss you, World Cup.
We sure will.
Congrats to Spain. Sorry, Argentina. Sorry, France. And congrats to England. You won third place.
Yeah, congrats to all the countries for giving us so much to talk about, so much to watch, much to enjoy.
Thank you so much.
It was beautiful.
And with that, now we transition to our next phase of this pod.
Dude, crazy.
Major League Soccer.
I kind of forget that that's what it stands for.
Don't say it
be so real. Yeah, it
didn't sound right coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. So the MLS.
Yeah, hilariously started the same week that the World Cup ends. It's just
crazy.
We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
The schedule lines up perfectly in that way, because if they didn't, the season would end on Christmas. So it makes more sense. But MLS got started. We are going to be a pod focused much more on the MLS. We both know that like it's not the Premier League or La Liga, but we live here. It is a growing league, and we want to learn more about it and find the things to root for in it. And it's just cool that it's here, and we live in Chicago that has a team, which is awesome. Speaking of, how was that Fire game?
It was awesome. It was so cool.
Oh man, it was the best. We had so much fun.
Yeah, the Fire really showed up.
The Fire did show up.
Exactly. And so did from Canada as well.
It basically happened.
From the Whitecaps.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert: our Chicago Fire game, Casillas and I and Brenda, we're all going to be going to the Chicago Fire game against the Vancouver Whitecaps. It was going to be set to be Robert Lewandowski's debut in a Chicago Fire uniform. That was super exciting. It was also going to be facing his old teammate from Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, Thomas Muller, and Sebastian Berhalter returning from the U.S.
against his dad, who coaches the Fire.
Exactly. There were so many fantastic storylines set up to just be.
Oh, we were so excited!
It was going to be great.
I bought a jersey just for it.
Exactly. So excited. And then, of course, the Canadian wildfires ended up throwing a wrench in those plans because the air quality was, I think, at that time was like over 500.
It was hazardous.
It was awful.
Very bad. It was me and Brenda walked our dog, and our head started to hurt. I was just like around the block. And obviously we're making fun of it. We hope everyone was safe and everyone was okay. And it was a good thing that it got canceled, because
so glad.
We were even talking about like, are we even gonna go even if it happens? And the fact that they canceled it was the right move. You didn't want Lewandowski to be introduced in that kind of environment too. So as much of a bummer as it was the right call. So we had to miss the game, and that game didn't end up happening. So
that's right.
Oh well, and hopefully Louis will get his start soon. And piggyback off that, before we quick through the MLS scores of the games that did happen.
Sure.
Some news for our Chicago Fire is that. So, well, you tell them what's going on with it, and I wanted to give you my take.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so previously on the Chicago Fire.
That's good.
Thank you. So one of our main, I think he was our main striker.
Yeah, he was our number 9 prior to Big Rob coming.
Yeah, he was in the running for the Golden Boot. Hugo Kuipers is his name. He
from Belgium, right?
He's a Belgium striker. Yeah. He's been on the team for the past few years, and very good player. And as I said, he was having a pretty great year. It was in the
lead.
Was he in the lead for it? Yeah, he was in the lead for the Golden Boot.
He had 13, and Messi has 11. I believe.
Yeah, there you go. So, with the arrival of Lewandowski, this generational talent, this guy from Europe, obviously the Fire are spending a whole lot of money on him.
Who plays the same position.
Plays the same exact position. There was a lot of talk previously to if they could make it work, they could have a 2-striker formation. And it seemed like based on the arrival of Lewandowski and the ability for Hugo Kuipers to stay, he even ended up saying that, he's changing his number so that he would end up giving it to Lewandowski. He was going to become number 99.
Right. Lewandowski has been 9 for almost all of his career.
Yeah. And so it seemed like, okay, they're making it work. They're gonna have a 2-striker offense.
Yeah.
And then we just got word, I believe it was 2 days ago.
Yeah. I don't know if it's been fully confirmed, everything has been signed. I'm not sure yet, but it's set
in a press conference and all that. That Hugo Kuipers has been sold off to a Liga MX.
Yeah, Monterrey.
Yeah. Who has a beautiful stadium out there.
Do they really?
They're the ones, I believe they have the one with the mountain in the background.
That's
like
right.
That famous picturesque. Yes. I believe it's them. But he's been sold off, and there's a lot of feelings about it. So you have, obviously gone into the break. This guy is the Golden Boot leader. He is the star of the team, and he is being essentially replaced by a older European talent that has obviously had a lot of success in the past and really is one of those like generational talents, but ultimately is like an unproven guy within the MLS.
Sure.
I think that based on what I know about him and based on the opinions that people have with him, I think that Robert Lewandowski is going to do great with the team, and that he's one of those guys that you could put him on any team and he's going to have some success. He's not going to be an absolute dud, barring anything catastrophic, obviously. But I do think that there is a level of uncertainty. It's not like they've played together and it wasn't clicking, and so it makes sense, whatever. There was this kind of unproven science to him going away. And so I think that did leave a bad taste in plenty of people's mouths. But just wanted to tee it up for you.
Yeah,
curious your thoughts on it.
That was perfect. That was exactly what is going on.
Sure.
And I think so. Obviously, we're on Reddit. We follow the Chicago Fire Reddit, and I feel like the general consensus amongst the Chicago Fire Redditors is just negative. It's just completely like, what are we doing? How would we sell a Golden Boot leader? Doesn't make any sense. Wow, the Fire, mismanagement, all this stuff. That's all the comments I'm seeing. And I mean, some of them are valid. I'm not gonna disparage anyone's feelings or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just think it made sense to me. I'm not saying I'm not bummed out. I liked Hugo. I say his name wrong all the time. Kuipers.
Yeah.
I always want to say Cypers.
Yeah.
You
can. He's not here anymore, so
that's true.
You can't.
Peace out, Cypers. But I obviously he had been scoring goals. He's Golden Boot leader and all this stuff and really good. But I think the thing I feel is that they were getting ahead of something that could have been a problem.
Yeah.
Where like you're saying, they could have played this 2-striker offense, but that hasn't been what they've been playing.
Right.
And I think that might have thrown off some things. I heard people saying too on the comments of like, oh, but now you have backup if one of them if Lewandowski wants to rest the game, he would come in but then it's like you're creating kind of this dissension already. And Lewandowski, he's just coming from Barcelona. He is coming from these top, and before that, Bayern Munich, Bundesliga. So he's coming from these places where he has shined. He has been he was a top scorer on Barcelona.
Right.
And I just feel like if you take out Kuipers and put in Lewandowski, he will get those goals. It's not like you're selling him for someone that's. I understand the age thing, but also Kuipers, I think is like 32. Like it's not.
I think he's 30
or 30,
but still,
he's not.
He's proven to be. I mean, just as any athlete should be. I don't think that I don't like the way that people talk about athletes as if they're breakable or something. Like we're all human beings, of course. But Kuipers has had he has missed a few games, of course, with certain injuries and stuff like that. So he's proved to be mortal in many different ways.
And I'm not saying just because he's not 25. It's not like he is younger.
For
like,
sure.
but I also don't necessarily think his best football is in front of him.
Sure.
I do think probably he has a little more runway than Robert Lewandowski does have.
Yeah.
But Lewandowski is still good now. And I think that's a lot of people's criticism too. If they're saying like, oh, we're trading 2 good years for 5 solid years or something.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't know that for sure. People are
don't
like,
know that.
what if
Yeah.
Lewandowski gets hurt 4 games in? It's like, what if Hugo Kuipers gets hurt 4 games in?
Right.
It's the exact same thing. And now you kind of get this flexibility.
Right.
You don't get this kind of like, I'm sure as willing as he was to switch from 9 to 99, I'm sure it didn't feel great, especially him thinking like, I've scored 13 goals, but you're
Right.
also, you're putting someone in that can score those goals as well. Like
Absolutely.
those setups are still going to be there, but now they're with someone that I hate too, whenever there's like, especially when it's like MVP talks
Yeah.
or things like that. It's if you're caping for one person, you almost have to put down the other person.
Sure.
I hate that. Like, I don't think that's necessarily fair. Both people can be great. I do think there is levels of greatness. So I just think that Robert Lewandowski is a better player. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't think he was coming from Barcelona and MLS. We love MLS, but it's not the same type league that La Liga is.
Right.
So,
or at least Barcelona is within La Liga.
Exactly.
And Champions League.
Right.
And all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like you are kind of switching this player for a quote unquote better player. And now you're getting the flexibility. I also saw that it was one of the highest transfer of MLS in history. I don't know exactly where,
Sure.
but it's very high. I believe it was like 7.5 million.
Yeah.
That they sold him for. He gets to go to a team that I'm sure needs a striker and can still do his thing. And I think it just, my fear was that there was going to be some content between them, and that could have gone through
animosity.
Throughout the whole team. And now it's just kind of like a clear, like, okay, we brought in Robert Lewandowski. He's our guy now. Hugo, thank you for everything you've done. I also think this is easy for me to say because although I've like followed the Fire like a bit, not like that much, that I don't have a huge relationship to him, that I'm not necessarily super heartbroken. Obviously, a Golden Boot front runner is someone you're going to miss.
Right.
But I think my whole thing is that we are taking someone that has gotten the chance to get in this front run for Golden Boot and putting him with someone that can score just as many goals, perhaps more.
Right.
That I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing or a mismanagement thing. I actually feel like it is good management because they're just like, hey, we don't want you guys to have any beef with each other.
Well, and there's more that's come out from it today, from what I understand, that like I guess apparently this is what like the club has mentioned, that Kuipers asked to
there you go.
You know, and so there's a, you know, and this is you know, speculation.
Yeah.
But I think that yes, they are bringing in this guy that is going to overshadow your production.
Yeah.
You know, that is true.
Yeah.
But also there is, at the end of the day, a bottom line for a number of things. One, you know, if we're looking at metrics for things, the fans, the interest in the Chicago Fire has gone up dramatically.
Yeah.
They've almost doubled in their socials presence based on, you know, like followers and with their engagement and with all that stuff. Obviously, they have other players that have like really made a mark, like Mbowazi, who's like bringing in a South African like fan base or whatever.
Right.
And now we have this enormous Polish, but also Barcelona fan base, and like kind of creating this more global reach.
Yeah.
It is ultimately a business, you know, and as much as it stinks to lose a player of that caliber, if they are requesting to go to another place, I think that right off the bat, it's similar. It's like a you know, I don't want to call it a red flag, but like that would suck if they said no.
Yeah.
You know, because then what's he going to do?
Right.
He's going to feel dejected.
Yeah.
He's going to feel unheard, and he's not going to be able to, he's not going to produce what he wants to do.
100%.
Obviously, with him wanting to leave, he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Like, ultimately, I think I wish that it could have worked out in a way or whatever, and I am disappointed in his absence. But there's two things to take from it. One, he gets to go to a place, get paid for it, and potentially be like the star of that team.
Yeah.
Two, he is one of the DP spots, and this is something we can get into the MLS.
Yeah.
MLS has specific cap limits for their entire team outside of 3 spots.
Yeah.
2, and then with their third, they have to pay an additional fee.
The designated player rule.
That's right. And they call it the David Beckham rule. So that's essentially how they're able to, with the MLS, especially in their up and coming years, be able to afford certain players while also not putting certain teams in smaller markets completely out of the running of winning, which has created a lot of parity in the league. It's similar to like the NBA in certain ways, where, some people like it, some people don't, whatever. That being said, the Fire currently have 2 DP spots with Hugo Kuiper's absence. And so now they have opened that up for the opportunity to bring in an additional player in this transfer window that could potentially inform, help, whatever. People were criticizing the decision to bring in Lewandowski when we had Hugo Kuiper's because that was not the immediate need that Chicago Fire had.
Yeah.
They had okay enough, like a decent enough backfield, but the midfield was the overall section that a lot of people had gripes with and wanted to fix.
Yeah.
And so with Kuipers taking up a role and with Robert Lewandowski taking up a role, having 2 strikers as the DP, 66% of their entire, ability and a significant chunk of the entire team's salary.
Yeah.
You're really putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
This gives you the opportunity to then find someone in, like, as I mentioned, in this transfer window to fill in the gaps of an area that we actually could use help in instead of it being like, let's hope that they get a bunch of goals and we get more goals than the other team because we're not going to be able to stop them.
Yeah, this gives us more flexibility. And I also think, like, what do you think would make him feel worse? That he gets transferred to a team that now he can, like you said, be the star, keep the same production level, or be like, hey, you're coming off the bench this game, or that's going to hurt him even more. He was like, I've just been playing great in this league, in this season. Obviously, you guys bring this guy in. Now, why are you guys pushing me aside? I think this is best for both.
Yeah, and it's a stock thing too, So like we see it in so many other. Maybe we're just used to it because of how. I think it's weird if this happened in a traditional off season. It probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Like people would be sad, but it would be like understandable.
Right, makes sense.
But with it being in the middle of the season,
it's
I
happening
think that's
so fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of like untapped potential that people can see. But also like, it's the same thing within the stock market where you just like you sell when it's at its best.
Right,
so he is currently in the lead for the Golden Boot. If you introduce Lewandowski, there's like almost no chance that he keeps that and he maintains it because you're going to be sharing the ability.
Oh yeah, and
stuff.
you think Lewandowski was going to come if they were like, hey, we want you so
tone
bad,
it down,
but we already got a guy too that's scoring goals. Like, but you're going to be our decoy. He wouldn't have come.
Right, exactly. And so his value is probably as high as it's ever going to get on the Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
They are not going to be liable for his like next contract. They're not letting him go free because he's going to be like a free agent. They get money out of the transaction. They open up a DP spot. It seems like on paper, I was upset about it personally.
Right.
But then it's like on paper, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does kind of suck the way that it happened because I think that like, again, if it would have happened in like the off season, it would be a completely different story. But I think it's the growing pains where in order for us to be like a club that has any like relevance and stuff, like you're going to have to make these tough decisions. And I would like to think that this decision of bringing in Lewandowski and then opening up the DP spot, we'll see. People are comparing it to that Family Guy bit where he's like, would you like a boat or, whatever's in this box? And it's like, well, the box could be anything, and that is true to a certain extent. But ultimately, like, I think it's the right move to go with this box that could potentially have a really, really good upside.
I think that's what's people's criticism of it too, is because that's the thing. Like I understand and I know he was our guy, but I think people are like, well, we don't know how Lewandowski's going to do in the MLS.
Right.
It's Lewandowski. My money's on he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And that like we're still going to play our system and it's going to work out even better with him. I also liked Hugo a lot. I thought he was great. But
you can plug him into the system that everyone is already familiar with instead of completely relearning and reinventing the wheel.
And it goes to what we were saying earlier of like, it's a team sport.
Right.
At the end of the day, like, yes, it seems like oxymoron to be like, it's a team sport, but we need to put as much in Lewandowski as possible. But I think that's part of it. Is like, well, our team will just flow better if we have this one striker.
Right.
And if we can bring in someone, like you said, to back up the midfield.
Yeah.
Rather than, because I think sometimes too, people are critical of like, well, you should just have the most talent possible.
Right.
Like it's like we were talking about with like France or Spain and stuff of like they have all this talent on the team,
right?
But it doesn't like Spain obviously has the better team dynamic going on. They can pass better to everybody.
Sure.
I think that is what's important here. Of like, yes, you could have these two strikers that are probably both phenomenal. Obviously, Lewandowski, everything he's done in his career, and now Kuipers being this Golden Boot leader. That's cool on paper, but will it actually flow in the right way? Will one of them get upset because now Kuipers isn't getting his 2 goals a game that he has been averaging? Now Lewandowski's getting 2 goals, or maybe they both have half a goal each in terms of like averages. Now Lewandowski's well, now I don't look like I'm that good because like I have to share this in a way where it's like, this is my spot. This is what I'm good at. That's the thing too. You bring in this guy that is a dominant generational player. You want to adhere to his skill set, you know, like help him help you in that way. And now if you have a guy there, and I get it, where it's like, well, and MLS isn't necessarily a league that is so talent filled that you're like, well, why are you going to let talent go out the door? But at the end of the day, this is a team sport. And if it makes the most sense for the team of how they play, I don't think it's a bad move.
No, I don't think so either. And I guess to like wrap it all up too, there's a lot of value in having a player with experience, with unique perspective, with Champions League experience, with like a European experience, with these top flight leagues, and also, as you mentioned, like generational talent, like fantastic player.
Yeah.
Coming to a city with an enormous Polish population, coming to a club that has a academy of players that are raised through this, that now are playing against the likes of Messi, of Son, of Griezmann, of whoever, these other generational talents that may not have the tools to do so, that may, their experience is going to, or rather lack thereof, is going to reflect in the record of the team. Yeah. And so the opportunity to learn under this guy and to kind of build each other up off of his own experience. This is no shot at Hugo. Like, he had a fantastic career in Europe as well, but he wasn't to that same upper echelon that Robert Lewandowski has, or at least didn't get the opportunity to. He might, at some point. I guess we'll see.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think he's going to if Robert Lewandowski is overshadowing him. Yeah. I can understand him having gripes with the team for signing him, but the writing has been on the wall. I'm honestly surprised that it even happened, because I've heard even before I got really into Chicago Fire that this was a possibility. They've been like courting Robert Lewandowski for years. So it's like it's not like completely out of left field, and also screw you, Hugo. Like, I think that this could have happened. I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier. Yeah. So I
think it just so happened to happen during Hugo's best season.
Right.
I think that's just and I think that's what people are upset about.
And I wish him the best. Like, I'm disappointed that he had to go, but I think ultimately it makes sense.
Right. We're still gonna root for him, but yeah.
We're gonna get clowned down for it.
Right. Yeah. People were like, you guys don't understand ball.
Yeah.
It's like,
but
okay.
I don't know. But we'll see.
It's also gonna be hilarious if like 5 games in, Lewandowski has like 7 goals. Right. And it's like, oh, this was a genius move.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So, yeah. We'll see. Yeah. He tears his ACL and is out for a year.
Anything is possible.
Anything. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Let's get into the scores of MLS and then get out of here. Yeah. Shall we?
Just real quick, speed round these.
We had a real quick mini, I think not even half of the games, especially with like the Chicago Fire being postponed. We had only 5 matchups.
Real quick in and out. Yeah. A lot of rivalry thing. We were talking about this last week.
This was kind of fun. Yeah. It was a fun way to like get people back into the swing of things. Yeah. There was a few missing players from some of the teams, but for the most part, they were battling at full strength. This is going to be kind of a weird transition window. I think they're really starting like we've got games coming up this Wednesday. We've got games coming up Saturday, and then a similar thing the next week.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot going on. But right now, we've got 5 games. And the first one was Montreal versus Toronto.
Yeah.
And 0-0.
0-0. I watched that one.
Same.
The broadcast was very surprised with Toronto's effort. Yeah, I didn't know enough, but they thought Toronto would win this easily.
They thought they were very disappointing, right? Yeah, I thought so too. Toronto has, I think, a lot of like potential.
Sure.
But they've struggled a lot with their players being healthy all at the same time.
Oh, that makes sense.
But also I think that again, even when they are, the cohesive nature of it is a little bit lacking. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's a long time. Montreal, on the other hand, yeah, I mean, this is probably the best result. It's that thing where it's like a tie. It's like it's a win for Montreal, a loss for Toronto.
Yeah.
Not that Toronto's league's better than Montreal, but Montreal is definitely. I mean,
yeah, it was just a surprising ending.
Absolutely. Then we had St. Louis versus Kansas City. That was that ended up being a lot more exciting.
Yeah,
we ended up getting, in fact, completely unrelated to the gameplay, one of the best memes that came out of it. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, yeah.
It was they were reviewing. One of the refs was reviewing a play when the VAR, and there was a kid sitting next to him that was like offering him $1. He was like.
I didn't see that.
It's so funny.
Oh,
I'll have to send it to you afterwards. But 3-2, St. Louis pulling out a win for that one. So that looks pretty good. Both teams don't look nearly as bad as their records show.
Yeah, they were ready to play.
And St. Louis has won 4 of their last 5, and then they tied their other one. So we'll see. I guess let's be on the lookout for
making a move
for the southern rivals of us. So. Then next one, this is a Cascadia Cup.
This was crazy.
Yeah, Seattle versus Portland. I don't know if anybody would have expected this outcome.
No. The broadcast was absolutely flabbergasted.
Were they?
Yeah, well, because this was it was in Seattle.
Sure.
They had just hosted some World Cup games, so there was still it was a packed house there. Right. They still had that energy. And I think these games are going to be funny, I think, until like maybe week 3 of getting back. I think so many people back from the World Cup or just they're probably on vacations.
Right.
Like, I think they're still getting like nerves out. It's almost like a whole new season has started.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And so this game was in Seattle, and they were all hyped for it, thinking they were just gonna, it was like the Pacific Northwest battle.
Right.
And they thought they were just gonna stomp out Portland, and Portland was just so ready.
Actually, Uno reverse.
Yeah, 100%. It was
Portland
crazy.
Beat Seattle 5-1. It was the largest defeat that Seattle had ever had under their head coach.
Wow.
And largest in the Seattle Portland
rivalry. Wow.
Yeah. So pretty insane. At least from Portland's perspective. I don't know about the other side of things.
I think Seattle felt like it was insane as well. I think they were a little shook.
There were a lot of memes I saw people who were saying like, on the Reddit, they were saying like, the pregame meal, and it was just like all a bunch of heads of lettuce.
Yeah.
Like for Seattle.
Because
be careful of that cyclosporiosis or whatever it is. Careful of that, folks.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was nuts. Then Nashville versus Atlanta. Atlanta, of course, not having a great season whatsoever. But Nashville is. Yeah. And they kept it kind of tight. There were a few chances from Atlanta, but ultimately Nashville prevailed and made it 1-0 to come out with the victory
I thought they would have won by more.
Yeah, honestly. And I would love to go to a Nashville game. That atmosphere looks like a lot of fun.
100%. And Nashville is just a cool city.
It is, yeah. It is. Maybe we gotta
let's plan something around.
You should go to your bachelor party.
Nashville. Oh.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
I'll make sure make it a business expense.
Yeah, I'll make sure a game's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah, and then the last one. You want to take it away?
Yeah, it was a little LA battle. LA versus LA.
El Trafico, as they call it. They do.
Really?
Yeah, that's the real. Yeah, that's what they call it, man. Yeah,
I love that. Graphical. Okay, cool. LAFC, LA Football Club versus LA Galaxy. LAFC won 3 goals to Galaxy's 0, and I saw that Son finally got his first MLS goal. He's been here the entire season, and the MLS hasn't scored a goal.
Right,
but he finally got one.
2026, right? I think he had some last year, but But Yeah, so
just
good,
about
good for
time.
him. Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised that it took this long. I think everybody was, but yeah, really good win for them. And this was at Galaxy's stadium too. So I think it was the biggest win that they had. More often than not, the home team wins, and so it was a pretty. I don't want to say surprising. LAFC definitely does seem like significantly better than the Galaxy this year. But it's always surprising to beat the home team.
Yeah, I think when there's like a rivalry game.
Yeah. Those two are and it's funny because LAFC is so much younger than Galaxy, but they already hate each other so much.
Oh, I'm sure the Galaxy fans were like, why is this new team coming in?
Exactly,
So,
yeah, I can imagine. So,
yeah.
But good for LAFC. I don't know if you want to take a look just real quick to wrap up everything at the MLS standings at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
We've got in the Eastern Conference, Nashville on top, Inter Miami right underneath them. And then, of course, our Chicago Fire right below them.
With no Lewandowski even playing yet.
I know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with that. New England, New York Red Bulls, Charlotte, Cincinnati, New York City FC, and DC United all rounding out the playoff spots at the moment.
Nice.
Then Columbus, Montreal, Toronto, Orlando City, Atlanta United, and then, of course, wooden spoon contender Philadelphia Union, which in my eyes is only payback for them stomping us in the playoffs last year.
They deserve this.
Then in the Western Conference, you got Vancouver right on top, San Jose not far behind, LAFC bumped up to third with this win.
Nice.
Salt Lake City, Real Salt Lake, FC Dallas, Seattle Sounders, Houston Dynamo, and Minnesota and LA Galaxy sneaking into the wild card spots of the playoffs right at the bottom. Then, of course, St. Louis, Portland, San Diego, Colorado, Austin, and Sporting KC rounding out the bottom half of the Western Conference. But again, St. Louis and Portland both had fantastic wins. We'll see what the break has in store for them.
LA Galaxy lost, so
yeah, of course. So
they could catch them.
They definitely could. We've got a lot more games than the first half. Ahead of us, and then the League's Cup coming up too. There's a lot of soccer ahead of us.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
it don't stop. Just because the World Cup stopped, don't mean that we stopped.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely talk about our club history next week.
Yeah, next week will be club history. It was
just no way.
There was so much to get through.
Too much to get through.
But now World Cup's over. We're fully locked in on MLS.
Yeah,
and do you want to tell them what team will be going in depth for next week?
Next week we're gonna take a look at the youngest team in the MLS.
The little babies.
The 30th team of the MLS, San Diego FC. So if you're a fan of San Diego FC, if you have no idea who San Diego FC is, if you want any information about them, we got you. That's going to be right after our MLS Mondays recap. And we're going to be able to post that. If you want to watch it live, you want to watch it early, it's going to be live on Mondays, and then it's going to be posted on Thursday, later in the week, on all podcasting platforms. Yeah. So
it'll be great too because they will have a game, so we could talk about their game.
We'll talk about their game afterwards. Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah. So follow along, and thanks so much for watching. And
thanks, everybody.
This World Cup has just been an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to continue with it all, buddy boy. I didn't mean to slap you so hard. I
wanted to hold your hand.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Now this is what it's all about.
This
TLDR FC, baby.
TLDR FC.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks for watching. Hope you had a good World Cup.
That's right. Goal!